I'm Gloria Henderson. Today I'm 62 years old, with short gray hair, still strong enough to stand here and tell the world, because I can't let my son forget the day he kicked his mother out of his own wedding. On Friday, October 13th, I wore a brand new purple floral dress, my husband's favorite color, a felt hat, holding an old leather handbag with a small Bible inside, and a thick envelope containing a $1.8 million wedding gift check for Malcolm and Tiffany. I took the bus all the way to Brooklyn, standing in front of La Rivage restaurant, where my son texted Saturday at 7 p.m. The restaurant was dark, the door locked, a small sign stuck on the glass. Closed for private event. No cars, no laughter, no lights. I called Malcolm. The bell rang twice. He picked up, loud music, glasses clinking, and luxurious laughter behind him. "Mom, where are you?" "Malcolm, I'm standing in front of La Rivage here. Why is it so dark?" 3 seconds of silence, 3 seconds as long as a lifetime. Then Tiffany's voice whispered next to him, "Tell her, get it over with." Malcolm gasped. "Mom, the wedding was yesterday. It was a typo, autocorrect. We're at the airport returning to Atlanta. We'll make it up to you another time." Hang up. I stood there, the cold wind blowing on my face, still holding the envelope. I knew immediately. It wasn't a typo. It was intentional. They didn't want the old Harlem mom wearing a flowered dress and riding the bus to appear in front of Tiffany's rich friends. I opened the envelope and took out the check. Name: Malcolm and Tiffany Brooks Henderson. Amount: $1,800,000. I looked at it for a second, then slowly tore it, shredded it, ripped it into small pieces, letting the Harlem wind blow them like confetti on the dark sidewalk. 6 months later, Tiffany's white Mercedes was towed in the middle of Atlanta's street while she cried on live stream. Reginald and Beverly Brooks stood frozen in front of the TV news. Atlanta couple accused of swindling $380,000. Malcolm knelt in the rain on my front porch in Harlem, soaking wet, sobbing. I opened the community center's brightly lit doors, and single mothers and children clapped. Malcolm and I sat eating black beans and rice at the old table, holding hands tightly. But let me take you back to the beginning. Have you ever been chased away from the happiest day of your life by your own blood? Don't go anywhere. I'll tell you from the beginning, from the day I thought was the day of reunion, but it turned out to be the day I lost my child, and also the day I found him again. It was Wednesday morning, 2 days before the wedding. I woke up at 5:30 in my 4-story brownstone on West 145th Street, Sugar Hill, Harlem. This house has been mine since 1981. My husband, James Henderson, bought it with his own hands, working night shifts at the docks, coming home with salt water on his boots and dreams in his eyes. We raised Malcolm here. We loved here. James died here, in my arms, 8 years ago. And every brick, every worn step on that stoop, every pipe that rattles in winter, it all holds his memory. I spent the morning cooking. Cornbread, collard greens with ham hocks, baked chicken with lemon and thyme, sweet potato casserole, and a red velvet cake cooling on the counter. The kitchen smelled like Sunday morning at Abyssinian Baptist Church. I was preparing a care package for Malcolm and Tiffany, something to welcome them home after the wedding. I was so excited. My only son was getting married. The boy I raised by myself after James passed. The boy who used to sit at this same kitchen table doing homework while I cooked dinner after my shift at PS 43. I was a school cook for 37 years. Every day, I served hot meals to hundreds of children, wiped down tables, cleaned industrial ovens, and came home smelling like cafeteria grease and government cheese. Malcolm always told people his mama was just a lunch lady. And I never corrected him. Because I wanted him to grow up humble, to know the value of hard work, to understand that money doesn't make you better than anybody. What Malcolm didn't know, what nobody knew except my best friend's sister Ruth Jackson, was that I wasn't just a lunch lady. I was a businesswoman. Back in 1992, Ruth and I started a small logistics company, Henderson and Jackson Logistics. We moved garments from the port of New York and New Jersey to fashion warehouses across the East Coast. It started with one truck, and a dream. Now, 32 years later, we have a fleet of 218 trucks, contracts with every major fashion brand you can name, and a net worth of $420 million. But I still lived in my brownstone in Harlem, still rode the bus, still wore dresses from the clearance rack at Macy's. Because I never wanted Malcolm to grow up soft, entitled, thinking the world owed him something. I wanted him to build his own life, earn his own respect, make his own way. And he did. He became a marketing consultant, worked hard, paid his own bills, rented his own apartment in Brooklyn. I was proud of him. Until he met Tiffany Brooks. She was an Atlanta influencer, 200,000 followers on Instagram, always posting pictures of brunch, designer bags, and motivational quotes she didn't write. Her parents, Reginald and Beverly Brooks, ran a luxury lifestyle consulting business that turned out to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. Malcolm met Tiffany at a marketing conference in Miami, and within 6 months, he was head over heels. She moved him to Atlanta, got him wrapped up in her world of appearances, status, and fake smiles. And slowly, I watched my son change. He stopped calling as much, stopped visiting, started talking about building a brand and networking with the right people. When he finally brought Tiffany to Harlem to meet me, she walked into my house like she was touring a museum. Her nose wrinkled at the old furniture, the faded wallpaper, the creaky floors. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Miss Gloria, this is so charming, so authentic, so old Harlem. I cooked them dinner, fried chicken, mac and cheese, greens." Tiffany took 3 bites and pushed her plate away. "I'm on a cleanse, but thank you so much." Malcolm didn't say a word, just ate in silence, avoiding my eyes. After dinner, Tiffany excused herself to use the bathroom, and I heard her on the phone, whispering loud enough for me to hear. "Girl, I cannot believe this is where he grew up. It's like stepping back into the 70s. I'm dying." I didn't say anything. I just cleared the plates, washed the dishes, and smiled. Because I knew who I was. And I knew who she wasn't. 2 months later, Malcolm called to tell me he was engaged. I cried happy tears. "Baby, I'm so proud of you. When's the wedding?" He hesitated. "October 13th. In Manhattan. Rooftop venue. It's going to be small, intimate, just close family and friends." I smiled. "I'll be there, baby. Wouldn't miss it for the world." He paused again. "Mom, Tiffany's handling all the details. She'll send you the info." And she did. A text message. 3 days before the wedding. "Hi, Miss Gloria. Wedding is Saturday, October 14th, 7 p.m., Le Rivage Restaurant, Brooklyn. Can't wait to see you. XOXO Tiffany." I read it over and over, memorized every word. I went to the bank that Thursday, withdrew $1.8 million in a cashier's check, wrote their names on it with a steady hand. This was my gift to my son. A head start. A foundation. A blessing. I put on my best dress Friday afternoon, the purple one James loved, pinned my hat just right, and took the bus to Brooklyn. I stood outside Le Rivage at 6:45, waiting, smiling, holding that envelope like it was made of gold. But the restaurant was dark. Empty. I checked my phone. Saturday, October 14th, 7 p.m. That's what the text said. I called Malcolm, and that's when my world collapsed. "Mom, the wedding was yesterday." I stood there, the wind biting at my face, the check in my hand, and I realized the truth. Tiffany didn't make a mistake. She lied. She didn't want me there. She was embarrassed by me, by my dress, by my bus pass, by my Harlem brownstone, by the fact that I was just a retired school cook, and my son, my only child, let her do it. I tore that check into 100 pieces and let them scatter on the Brooklyn sidewalk like leaves. And I walked away. Not crying, not broken, just quiet. Because I knew something Tiffany didn't. I knew exactly who I was. And I knew exactly what I was about to do. I took the bus back to Harlem, sat in the back, and watched the pieces of that check fly out the window like confetti nobody wanted. My phone buzzed in the pocket of my purple wool coat. Sister Ruth Jackson. "Gloria, I'm ready. Just say the word." I texted back one word. Begin. I got off at 145th Street and walked slowly up the steps to my brownstone. The house was quiet, the way it always is when you come home to emptiness. I took off my hat, hung up my coat, and sat down at the kitchen table, the same table where James and I used to eat Sunday dinner, the same table where Malcolm did his homework every night. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, staring at the empty chairs, wondering how my son, the boy I raised to be kind and humble, could let someone treat his mother like garbage. Then my phone rang. It was Malcolm. I let it ring 3 times before I answered. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Tiffany got the dates mixed up. It was an honest mistake. We'll do something special when we get back, I promise." I didn't say anything. Just held the phone to my ear, listening to him lie. "Mom, you there?" I took a breath. "Malcolm, was it really a mistake?" Silence. "Mom, of course it was. Why would you even ask that?" I closed my eyes. "Because, baby, your mother may be old, but she's not stupid." He sighed, frustrated. "Mom, I don't have time for this right now. We're about to board. I'll call you when we land in Atlanta." And he hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone, and that's when the tears finally came. Not loud, sobbing tears, just quiet ones, the kind that fall when your heart finally understands what your mind already knew. My son chose her over me. The next morning, Sunday, I woke up at 5:30, just like I always do. I made coffee, read my Bible, and prayed for strength. Then I called Sister Ruth. She answered on the first ring. "Gloria, baby, how you holding up?" I took a sip of coffee. "I'm fine, Ruth. Just tired." She laughed softly. "Well, rest up, because we about to shake some tables." Ruth and I had been best friends since 1976, back when we both worked the lunch line at PS 43. We used to dream about starting our own business, something that would give us freedom, security, something our kids could inherit. In 1992, we took our life savings, $15,000 each, and bought one used box truck. We called it Henderson and Jackson Logistics. We started small, moving garments from the port of New York and New Jersey to small boutiques in Harlem, Brooklyn, the Bronx. We worked 18-hour days, driving, loading, unloading, doing our own bookkeeping at night. But we were smart. We built relationships. We were reliable, on time, trustworthy. And slowly, the contracts got bigger. By 2000, we had 10 trucks. By 2010, we had 50. By 2020, we had 218 trucks and contracts with every major fashion brand on the East Coast. Gucci, Prada, Ralph Lauren, Calvin Klein, all of them trusted us to move their product safely and on time. Our net worth, as of last quarter, was $420 million. But nobody knew. Not Malcolm. Not Tiffany. Not anyone outside of Ruth, our lawyers, and our accountants. We kept it quiet on purpose. Because we wanted our children to grow up normal, humble, hardworking. Ruth's daughter, Zoe, was only 4 years old now, being raised by Ruth after her own daughter passed from cancer 2 years ago. And Malcolm? Well, I wanted him to build his own life, not live off his mother's money. But now, sitting in my kitchen, I realized something. I'd been so focused on teaching Malcolm humility that I forgot to teach him loyalty. I forgot to teach him that family comes first. I forgot to teach him that you don't abandon the people who love you just because someone with a pretty face tells you to. Ruth's voice brought me back. "Gloria, you still with me?" I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "I'm here, Ruth." "Good, because we need to move fast. I did some digging on Tiffany and her family, and baby, it's worse than we thought." I sat up straight. "Tell me." Ruth took a breath. "Tiffany's brand, that whole influencer thing, it's a fraud. She's been buying fake followers, faking sponsorships, lying about partnerships. Several companies are already investigating her for breach of contract. I wasn't surprised. And her parents?" Ruth laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Reginald and Beverly Brooks are in debt up to their eyeballs. $380,000. Credit cards, personal loans, a mortgage they can't pay. Their whole lifestyle consulting business is a shell company. They don't have any real clients, just a fancy website and a lot of lies. I felt my jaw tighten. So they're broke. Worse than broke, Gloria. They're desperate. I closed my eyes. And desperate people do desperate things. Ruth's voice got serious. Gloria, I think they're coming for your house. I opened my eyes. What? Think about it. Malcolm just married into a family drowning in debt. They know he's from Harlem, they know you own that brownstone outright, and they probably think it's worth a fortune. I wouldn't be surprised if they're already plotting to get Malcolm to sell it out from under you. My heart started pounding. Ruth, Malcolm would never do that. She was quiet for a moment. Gloria, baby. Malcolm just let his wife lie to you about his wedding. He let you stand outside a locked restaurant in Brooklyn while he partied in Manhattan. You really think he won't let them talk him into selling your house? I felt sick, because she was right. The Malcolm I raised wouldn't do that. But the Malcolm who just got married to Tiffany Brooks? I wasn't so sure anymore. Ruth, what do we do? Her voice turned sharp, businesslike. We protect what's ours. I already called our lawyers. We're transferring the deed to your house into an irrevocable trust for Zoe's education fund. That way, even if Malcolm tries to claim it, he can't touch it. It's legally untouchable. I nodded slowly. And Tiffany? Ruth laughed. Oh, honey, Tiffany's about to have a very bad week. I've got calls into the FTC about her fake sponsorships, the IRS about her unreported income, and I've already tipped off 3 major brands she lied about partnering with. Her influencer career is about to go up in flames. I should have felt satisfied, but all I felt was sadness. Ruth, what about Malcolm? Her voice softened. Gloria, Malcolm made his choice. Now he's got to live with the consequences. But when it all falls apart, and it will, you'll be there. And maybe, just maybe, he'll finally understand what he threw away. I wiped my eyes. I hope so, Ruth. I really hope so. We hung up, and I sat there in the quiet of my kitchen, staring at the empty chairs. 24 hours ago, I was excited about my son's wedding. Now, I was preparing for war. But not the kind of war Tiffany and her family expected. Because they thought I was just a poor old lady from Harlem with nothing to lose. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I stood up, walked to the window, and looked out at Sugar Hill, the neighborhood I'd called home for 43 years. This house, this block, this life, it was mine. And nobody, not Tiffany, not her parents, and not even my own son, was going to take it from me. I picked up my phone and called Ruth back. Ruth, I'm ready. Do whatever you have to do. She laughed, strong and sure. Consider it done, sister. By this time next week, they won't know what hit them. I hung up and walked to my bedroom, to the small closet where I kept James's things. His old work jacket still hung there, smelling faintly of salt water and diesel fuel. I held it to my chest and whispered, James, I'm about to fight for our son. I'm about to show him what it means to stand on principle, even when it hurts. I just hope he's strong enough to come back when it's all over. And then I got to work. Monday morning, 6 a.m., my phone started ringing. Malcolm. I let it ring 4 times before I answered. Mom, we need to talk. Now. His voice was panicked, breathless, like a man drowning. I poured myself a cup of coffee, nice and slow. Good morning to you too, baby. Mom, this isn't a joke. Tiffany's car got repossessed last night, right in front of a restaurant, in front of everyone. It's all over social media. I took a sip of my coffee. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate? Mom, it's a nightmare. And that's not all. Her Instagram account lost 600,000 followers overnight. Brands are dropping her. Her sponsorships are gone. And her parents, they're on the news, Mom. The news, for fraud. I sat down at the kitchen table, looking out at the Harlem morning. Malcolm, what does any of that have to do with me? He was quiet for a moment. Then, his voice got harder. Mom, did you do this? I smiled into the phone. Baby, I'm just a retired school cook. What could I possibly do? Mom, I'm serious. Did you call someone? Did you make this happen? I set my coffee down. Malcolm, I called my best friend. I told her my son lied to me about his wedding. I told her I stood outside a locked restaurant in Brooklyn wearing my best dress while he partied in Manhattan with people who were ashamed of me. That's all I did. Silence. Then I heard Tiffany's voice in the background, sharp and angry. Malcolm, tell her to fix this. Tell her to call whoever she called and make it stop. I heard Malcolm take a breath. Mom, Tiffany wants to talk to you. I laughed softly. I'm sure she does. Put her on. There was a rustling sound, then Tiffany's voice came through, fake, sweet, but trembling with rage. Miss Gloria, hi? Listen, I think there's been a huge misunderstanding. The wedding date thing, that was totally my fault. I got the dates mixed up. But I promise, we're going to make it up to you. We're planning a whole vow renewal, and you'll be front and center, I swear. I let her finish. Then I spoke, my voice calm and clear. Tiffany, let me tell you something. I raised my son by myself after his father died. I worked double shifts at a school cafeteria, came home smelling like grease and government cheese, just to make sure he had food, clothes, and a roof over his head. I taught him to be humble, to work hard, to respect people. And you know what? He turned out to be a good man, until he met you. She tried to interrupt. Miss Gloria, I'm not finished. You didn't mix up the dates, baby. You lied. You sent me to the wrong place on purpose because you were embarrassed by me, by my dress, by my bus pass, by the fact that I'm just an old Harlem lady who doesn't fit into your Instagram fantasy. And my son, the boy I raised, he let you do it. Tiffany's voice got cold. You know what, Miss Gloria? You're right. I didn't want you there. Because you don't fit. You're old-fashioned, you're stuck in the past, and frankly, you're an embarrassment. Malcolm deserves better than a mother who rides the bus and lives in a falling-apart brownstone. I felt my jaw tighten, but I kept my voice steady. Is that right? Yes, that's right. And you know what else? We're coming for that house. Malcolm's a grown man now, and he doesn't need you holding on to some old piece of Harlem real estate out of stubbornness. We're going to sell it, pay off our debts, and move on with our lives. So you can either cooperate, or we'll get a lawyer and declare you mentally incompetent. Either way, that house is ours. I took a slow breath. Tiffany, baby, let me tell you something. That house has been in my family since 1981. My husband bought it with his own hands. We raised our son there. And you will never, ever touch it. She laughed. We'll see about that, Miss Gloria. Malcolm, tell your mother we'll be in Harlem next week to start the paperwork. And she hung up. I sat there, staring at the phone, my hands shaking with anger. Not because I was scared, but because I couldn't believe my son was standing there, letting this woman threaten his own mother. I called Ruth immediately. Ruth, they're coming for the house. She didn't sound surprised. I figured they would. Don't worry, Gloria. The deed transferred to Zoe's education trust at midnight last night. It's ironclad. Even if Malcolm tries to claim it, the courts will laugh him out of the room. I exhaled. Thank you, Ruth. Don't thank me yet. We're just getting started. I've got more calls to make. By the end of the week, Tiffany and her family won't know what hit them. We hung up, and I sat in the quiet of my kitchen, feeling the weight of everything. This was my son. The boy I rocked to sleep, the boy I read bedtime stories to, the boy I cheered for at every basketball game, every school play, every graduation. And now, he was threatening to take my home. That evening, Ruth called me back. Gloria, turn on Channel 7. You're going to want to see this. I turned on the TV and there it was. Reginald and Beverly Brooks, Tiffany's parents, on the evening news. The headline read, Atlanta couple accused of running $380,000 scam. The reporters stood in front of their house, a big suburban McMansion with a foreclosure sign already planted in the yard. Reginald and Beverly Brooks are accused of running a fraudulent lifestyle consulting business, taking money from clients and delivering nothing in return. The Georgia Attorney General's office has opened an investigation, and multiple lawsuits have been filed. The couple could face up to 10 years in prison. The camera cut to Reginald and Beverly being led out of their house in handcuffs, their faces pale, their eyes wide with shock. I watched, my heart heavy. Not because I felt bad for them, but because I knew Malcolm was watching too. And I knew this was breaking him. My phone rang. Malcolm. Mom, did you see the news? I turned off the TV. I did, baby. His voice cracked. Mom, they arrested Tiffany's parents. They're saying they might go to prison. Tiffany's a mess. She's crying, she's not eating, she's barely talking. And I don't know what to do. I closed my eyes. Malcolm, what do you want me to say? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, Mom, can you make this stop, please? I felt tears sting my eyes. Baby, I can't stop the truth. Her parents broke the law. They stole money from people. That's not something I did. That's something they did. But you called someone. You made this happen. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. No, Malcolm, I didn't make this happen. I just turned on the light. And when you turn on the light, you see what's been hiding in the dark. He was crying now, soft, broken sobs. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have stood up for you. I should have told Tiffany to fix the wedding invite. I should have made sure you were there. I'm sorry. I wiped my own tears. Malcolm, I appreciate that, but an apology doesn't fix this. He sniffled. What do you want me to do, Mom? I took a breath. I want you to come home, not to sell the house, not to take what's mine, but to sit at our kitchen table, eat the food I cook, and remember who you are. Because right now, baby, I don't even recognize you. He didn't say anything, just cried. And then he hung up. I sat there in the dark, my house quiet around me, and I prayed. Lord, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm trusting you. Please bring my son home, not the man he's pretending to be, but the boy I raised, the one with a good heart. Please, Lord, bring him home. The next morning, I woke up to a text from Ruth. Tiffany's Instagram account was permanently suspended for violating terms of service. Her influencer career is over. The lawsuits are piling up. And Malcolm's joint bank account with Tiffany was frozen pending investigation. It's done, Gloria. They have nothing left. I read the message 3 times, and I felt no joy, just sadness, because I knew what was coming next. They were going to come for me. 3 days later, they showed up at my door. Not with apologies, with a lawyer. I was in the kitchen making cornbread when I heard the knock, sharp and demanding. I wiped my hands on my apron and opened the door. Malcolm stood there, looking thinner, his eyes red and hollow. Behind him was Tiffany, her face hard as stone, and a white man in a gray suit carrying a leather briefcase. Mom, we need to come in. I stepped aside without a word. They walked into my living room, the same room where Malcolm used to play with his toy trucks, the same room where James and I used to dance on Saturday nights. The lawyer sat down on my couch like he owned it. Malcolm stood by the window, not looking at me. Tiffany sat with her arms crossed, her jaw tight. The lawyer opened his briefcase and pulled out a stack of papers. Mrs. Henderson, my name is Gerald Whitmore. I represent Malcolm and Tiffany Brooks Henderson. We're here today to discuss your mental competency and the ownership of this property. I sat down in James's old armchair, my hands folded in my lap. Is that so? He nodded. All business. Mrs. Henderson, your son and daughter-in-law are concerned about your recent behavior. They believe you may be suffering from age-related cognitive decline, paranoia, and possible dementia. As such, they're petitioning the court to have you declared mentally incompetent so that Malcolm, as your only living relative, can assume guardianship and make decisions on your behalf, including the sale of this property. I looked at Malcolm. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. I turned back to the lawyer. Mr. Whitmore, I'm 62 years old. I have no history of mental illness. I pay my bills on time. I cook my own meals. I take care of this house by myself. On what grounds are you claiming I'm incompetent? Tiffany leaned forward, her voice sharp. You destroyed our lives, Miss Gloria. You got my parents arrested. You got my car repossessed. You ruined my career. That's not the behavior of a sane person. That's the behavior of someone who's delusional and vindictive." I smiled softly. "Tiffany, I didn't get your parents arrested. The state of Georgia did that when they found out about the fraud. I didn't get your car repossessed. The bank did that when you stopped making payments. And I didn't ruin your career. You did that when you bought fake followers and lied to brands about sponsorships." Her face flushed red. "You're lying!" I shook my head. "No, baby. I'm just telling the truth. And the truth is, you and your family built your lives on lies. And when the lies caught up with you, you looked for someone to blame, and you chose me." The lawyer cleared his throat. "Mrs. Henderson, regardless of the circumstances, the fact remains that you have engaged in what appears to be retaliatory behavior. You made phone calls that resulted in significant financial harm to this family. That suggests impaired judgment." I looked at him, my eyes steady. "Mr. Whitmore, I called my best friend and told her what happened to me. That's not impaired judgment. That's friendship. What she chose to do with that information is her business, not mine." He frowned. "Mrs. Henderson, we have documentation showing that you transferred the deed to this house into an irrevocable trust without consulting your son. That's highly irregular behavior for someone in your position." I nodded. "It is irregular, but it's not illegal, and it's not incompetent, it's smart." Malcolm finally spoke, his voice quiet and strained. "Mom, why did you do that? Why did you put the house in Zoe's name?" I turned to him. "Because, Malcolm, I knew this was coming. I knew the moment you married Tiffany that one day she'd come for this house, and I wasn't going to let that happen." Tiffany stood up, her voice rising. "This is insane. Malcolm, tell her she's crazy." Malcolm looked at me, his eyes pleading. "Mom, please, just sign the papers. Let us sell the house. We'll split the money with you. You can get a nice apartment somewhere, something easier to manage. We'll take care of everything." I felt my heart break all over again. "Malcolm, do you hear yourself? You're asking me to give up the house your father bought, the house where we raised you, the house where he died in my arms. You're asking me to give that up so you can pay off your wife's debts." His voice cracked. "Mom, we don't have a choice. Tiffany's career is over. Her parents are going to prison. We're drowning in debt. If we don't sell this house, we're going to lose everything." I stood up slowly, walked over to him, and looked him in the eyes. "Baby, you already lost everything. The moment you let that woman lie to me about your wedding, the moment you stood by and watched her disrespect me, you lost everything that mattered. And selling this house won't get it back." Tiffany exploded. "Enough. Malcolm, stop begging her. Let's just go to court. We'll get a judge to declare her incompetent. We'll get the house. She can't stop us." I turned to her, my voice calm and cold. "Tiffany, you can try. But let me tell you something. This house is not in my name anymore. It's in an irrevocable trust for Zoe's education. That means even if a judge declared me incompetent, which they won't, you still couldn't touch it. It's legally untouchable. So go ahead, waste your money on lawyers, drag me to court. But at the end of the day, you'll still have nothing, and I'll still have my house." The lawyer stood up, clearly frustrated. "Mrs. Henderson, we will be filing the petition with the court. You'll be receiving official notice within the week. I suggest you retain legal counsel." I smiled. "I already have legal counsel, Mr. Whitmore, and they're a lot better than you." He packed up his briefcase and walked to the door. Tiffany followed him, her face twisted with rage. But Malcolm stayed. He stood there looking at me, tears streaming down his face. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how this got so out of control." I walked over to him and took his hands in mine. "Malcolm, you made a choice. You chose her over me. You chose money over family. You chose lies over truth, and now you're living with the consequences. And baby, I'm sorry, but I can't save you from that. You have to save yourself." He sobbed, his whole body shaking. "I don't know how, Mom. I don't know how to fix this." I cupped his face in my hands. "You start by telling the truth. You go home, and you tell Tiffany that you're not going to court. You tell her that you're not going to fight your mother for her house. And then you figure out what kind of man you want to be. Because right now, you're not the man I raised." He pulled away, wiping his eyes. "I love you, Mom." I nodded. "I know, baby. But love isn't enough, not when it's not backed up by action." He walked to the door, stopped, and looked back at me one last time. "Mom, what if I lose her?" I took a breath. "Malcolm, you already lost me. Maybe it's time to figure out which loss you can live with." He left without another word. I closed the door and stood there in the silence, my heart heavy but my resolve strong. They wanted a war? They were going to get one. That night, Ruth came over with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. We sat at my kitchen table, eating lo mein and talking strategy. "Gloria, they're not going to stop. You know that, right?" I nodded. "I know. So what's the plan?" I took a sip of wine. We wait. We let them file their petition. We let them waste their money on lawyers. And then, when they're in court, we show them exactly who Gloria Henderson is. Ruth grinned. "You're going to reveal the company." I smiled. "Not all of it. Just enough to prove I'm not some senile old lady. Just enough to show them they picked the wrong woman to mess with." Ruth raised her glass. "To Gloria Henderson, the baddest woman in Harlem." I clinked my glass against hers. "To the truth. And to making sure my son learns it the hard way." We drank, and for the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. Not hope that Malcolm would come back, but hope that when this was all over, he'd finally understand what he threw away. And maybe, just maybe, he'd find his way home. 6 months passed like a long, cold winter. I didn't call Malcolm, didn't text, didn't reach out. He was silent too, like he'd fallen off the face of the earth. But I knew everything, every single thing. Ruth kept me updated, not because I asked, but because she knew I needed to know. The first week after the lawyer visit, Tiffany filed for divorce. 9 days after the wedding. 9 days. The reason listed in the court documents: financial deception and family pressure. She tried to sue Malcolm for half of everything. The judge looked at the paperwork, saw they had nothing, and dismissed the case in under 5 minutes. Tiffany walked out of that courtroom with exactly what she brought into the marriage. Nothing. Reginald Brooks was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison for fraud. Beverly took a plea deal, community service, and probation, but their reputation was destroyed. Their big house in Atlanta was foreclosed on. Their cars were repossessed. Their bank accounts were drained by legal fees and restitution payments. Reginald, when he got out, took a job as a night security guard at a warehouse in Jersey City. $12 an hour. Beverly started working at the Duane Reade on 145th Street, scanning groceries, asking customers, paper or plastic. And Malcolm? Ruth sent me a photo one day, no words attached. Just a picture. Malcolm, wearing a hard hat and a bright orange reflective vest, standing in the container yard at Port Newark. His face was tired, his hands dirty, his eyes hollow. He was working as a stevedore, loading and unloading cargo for Henderson and Jackson Logistics. My company. He had no idea. Ruth told me he'd applied for the job under a different supervisor, someone who didn't know who he was. He was making $16 an hour, working 10-hour shifts, sleeping in a $45 a night motel off Route 19. No friends. No family. No wife. Just work, sleep, and shame. I wanted to call him. Every single day, I wanted to pick up the phone and tell him to come home. But I didn't. Because he needed to learn. He needed to understand what it felt like to be humble, to work hard, to have nothing but your dignity. Meanwhile, I got to work. I hired contractors, local men from Harlem who needed the work. We tore down walls, refinished floors, expanded the kitchen, added new bathrooms. The living room became a community space with sewing machines, tools, and a small library. Malcolm's old bedroom became a daycare, bright and colorful, filled with toys and books. The basement, the one they wanted to shove me into, became a full kitchen where we cooked 200 meals a day for anyone who needed them. Single mothers, homeless families, elderly folks on fixed incomes. Anyone who walked through the door got a hot meal, no questions asked. We hung a big sign out front, hand-painted by a local artist. Miss Gloria's Community Kitchen and Daycare, open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., free forever. The neighborhood came alive. Mothers brought their children while they went to job interviews. Teenagers came to learn how to sew, how to fix a car, how to cook. Elders stopped by just to sit and talk, to feel seen, to feel valued. My house, the house Tiffany called old and embarrassing, became the heartbeat of Sugar Hill. But I kept one room untouched. The master bedroom, James's and mine. The walnut bed was still there, the blankets folded just the way he liked them. I'd taken the broken pieces of our wedding vase, the one Tiffany smashed, and glued them back together with gold lacquer the Japanese way. It sat on the dresser now, more beautiful for having been broken. I told the contractors, "Don't touch this room, I'm still waiting for someone." Every night, I sat on the edge of that bed, smoothing the covers, talking to James. "Honey, our boy is lost, but he's going to come home. I know he is, I just have to be patient." And I was. 6 months, not a word. Until one rainy April evening, just as the sun was setting and the community kitchen was closing for the night, I heard a knock on the door. Soft, hesitant, almost afraid. I wiped my hands on my apron and walked to the door. I opened it, and there he was. Malcolm, soaking wet, his cheap raincoat torn at the shoulder, his work boots caked in mud. He'd lost at least 20 pounds, his face gaunt, his eyes red and swollen. He looked at me, his mouth opening and closing, but no words came out. And then, slowly, he dropped to his knees. Right there on my front porch, in the rain, in front of the whole neighborhood. "Mom." His voice cracked, broken like shattered glass. I stood there, my hand still on the door, my heart pounding in my chest. He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face, mixing with the rain. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to ask you for anything, but I had nowhere else to go. I lost everything. Tiffany's gone, the money's gone. I'm working at the docks, sleeping in a motel, and I can't do it anymore. I can't pretend I'm okay, because I'm not. I'm broken, Mom, and I did it to myself." I looked down at my son, this man I raised, this boy I loved more than my own life. And I saw him. Not the man who betrayed me. Not the man who stood by while his wife lied to me. But the boy who used to hold my hand crossing the street. The boy who used to help me cook Sunday dinner. The boy who cried at his father's funeral and promised me he'd always take care of me. I stepped out onto the porch, the rain soaking through my dress, and I knelt down in front of him. I took his face in my hands, just like I used to when he was little. "Malcolm, my baby, my son." He collapsed into my arms, sobbing like a child, his whole body shaking. "I'm sorry, Mom, I'm so sorry. I hurt you. I betrayed you. I chose money over you. I chose her over you, and I was wrong. I was so wrong." I held him tight, rocking him back and forth, the rain falling around us. "Shh, baby. It's okay. You're home now. You're home." He pulled back, looking at me with disbelief. "You're not mad at me?" I smiled through my own tears. "Oh, I'm mad, baby. I'm furious. But I'm also your mother, and that means I love you no matter what, even when you break my heart." He shook his head. "I don't deserve your love, Mom. I don't deserve to be here." I stood up, pulling him to his feet. "Malcolm, none of us deserve love. But we get it anyway. That's what grace is. Now come inside before you catch pneumonia." I led him into the house, past the bustling community center, past the mothers and children, past the volunteers cleaning up. Everyone stopped and stared. Some smiled, some whispered. But I didn't care. I led Malcolm upstairs, to the master bedroom, the room I'd kept untouched. I opened the door. He stepped inside and looked around, his eyes landing on the glued-together vase, the folded blankets, the photo of me and James on the nightstand. "Mom, you kept it the same." I nodded. "I told you, baby. I was waiting for you." He broke down again, covering his face with his hands. I put my arm around him. "Come on, let's get you out of those wet clothes. Then we're going to sit down at that kitchen table and you're going to tell me everything. And after that, we're going to figure out what comes next." He nodded, unable to speak. I left him to change, and I went downstairs to the kitchen. I pulled out a pot, filled it with water, and started cooking. Black beans and rice. James's favorite. Malcolm's favorite. The smell filled the house, warm and familiar. 20 minutes later, Malcolm came downstairs, wearing one of his father's old sweaters, his hair still damp. He sat at the table, the same table where he used to do his homework. I set a bowl in front of him. He stared at it, tears falling into the rice. "Mom, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to make it right." I sat across from him, taking his hand. "Baby, you can't fix the past, but you can learn from it. And you can choose to be better. That's all any of us can do." He squeezed my hand. "I want to be better, Mom. I want to be the man you and Dad raised me to be." I smiled. "Then that's what you'll do. One day at a time. One choice at a time." We sat there, eating together, crying and laughing at the same time. And for the first time in 6 months, my house felt whole again. That night, after Malcolm changed into dry clothes, we sat at the kitchen table. Just the two of us. The house was quiet, the community center closed for the evening, the rain still tapping against the windows. I set 2 bowls of black beans and rice on the table, the steam rising between us. Malcolm stared at his bowl, his hands wrapped around it like he was trying to hold on to something real. "Mom, I need to tell you something." I took a sip of water. "I'm listening, baby." He took a shaky breath. "I've been working at the port, loading containers, $16 an hour. I didn't know it was your company until last week when I saw your name on a shipping manifest. I didn't say anything, just waited. When I saw it, I felt sick. Because I realized I'd been working for you this whole time and you never said a word. You just let me struggle. Let me learn." He looked up at me, his eyes red. "Why didn't you tell me, Mom? Why didn't you tell me you owned a company? That you had money? That you could have helped me this whole time?" I set down my spoon. "Malcolm, would it have mattered? If I'd told you 10 years ago that I was rich, would you have turned out different, or would you have just become entitled sooner?" He flinched. "I don't know." I leaned forward. "Baby, I raised you the way I did because I wanted you to understand what it means to work hard, to earn respect, to know that money doesn't make you better than anybody. Your father and I, we came from nothing. We built everything with our own hands, and I wanted you to have that same pride." Malcolm's voice cracked. "But I didn't, Mom. I didn't have pride. I was embarrassed. Embarrassed by this house. Embarrassed by you. Embarrassed by where I came from. And when Tiffany came along, she fed into that. She made me feel like I deserved more. Like I was too good for Harlem. Too good for you." I reached across the table and took his hand. "And now? How do you feel now?" He broke down, tears falling into his rice. "I feel like I threw away the most important thing I had. I feel like I betrayed the only person who ever really loved me. And I don't know how to fix it, Mom. I don't know how to make it right." I squeezed his hand. "Baby, you can't fix the past. But you can learn from it. You can choose to be different going forward. That's all any of us can do." He nodded, wiping his eyes. "Mom, I want to work for it. I want to earn your trust back. I don't want your money. I don't want your company. I just want to be your son again." I smiled through my own tears. "Malcolm, you never stopped being my son, not for 1 second." We sat there, eating together, the silence comfortable for the first time in months. After dinner, I showed him around the community center. He walked through the daycare, the sewing room, the kitchen, his eyes wide. "Mom, you did all this?" I nodded. "With Ruth's help, and the help of a lot of good people from the neighborhood." He stopped in front of a wall covered in photos. Pictures of single mothers with their kids, smiling, thriving. Pictures of elderly folks eating hot meals. Pictures of teenagers learning to sew, to cook, to build. "This is incredible, Mom. You're changing lives." I put my arm around him. "That's what we're supposed to do, baby. Use what we have to help others. That's what your father taught me, and that's what I'm trying to teach you." Malcolm turned to me, his face serious. "Mom, I want to help. I want to work here. I don't care if it's cleaning floors or washing dishes. I just want to be a part of this." I looked at him, studying his face, searching for sincerity, and I found it. "Okay, baby, you can start tomorrow. 6 a.m., we've got breakfast to cook for 100 people." He smiled, a real smile, the first one I'd seen in months. "I'll be here." Over the next few weeks, Malcolm threw himself into the work. He cooked breakfast every morning, served meals, cleaned up, helped with repairs around the building. He taught carpentry classes to the teenagers, showing them how to build shelves, fix broken chairs, create something with their hands. The mothers loved him. The kids adored him. And slowly, I watched my son come back to life, not as the man he was trying to be, but as the man he was meant to be all along. One Sunday afternoon, Ruth came by with little Zoe, now 4.5, full of energy and questions. "Auntie Gloria, Auntie Gloria, can I help make cookies?" I scooped her up, kissing her cheek. "Of course, baby. Let's go to the kitchen." Malcolm was already there, prepping vegetables for dinner. When he saw Zoe, his face lit up. "Hey, Zoe, you remember your cousin Malcolm?" She nodded shyly. "You're the one who was sad, but Auntie Gloria said you'd be happy again." Malcolm looked at me, his eyes glistening. "She was right, Zoe. I am happy again." Ruth pulled me aside while Malcolm and Zoe made cookies. "Gloria, he's doing good, really good." I nodded, watching them through the kitchen doorway. "He is. He's finally figuring out who he's supposed to be." Ruth smiled. "You did it, Gloria. You saved him." I shook my head. "No, Ruth. He saved himself. I just kept the door open." That evening, after everyone had gone home, Malcolm and I sat on the front stoop, watching the sun set over Harlem. "Mom, can I ask you something?" I turned to him. "Anything, baby." He hesitated. "Do you think Dad would be proud of me? After everything I did?" I thought about James, about the man he was, about the father he was. "Malcolm, your father loved you more than life itself. And yes, he'd be disappointed in the choices you made, but he'd also be proud of the man you're becoming. Because that's what matters. Not where you've been, but where you're going." Malcolm nodded, his jaw tight. "I'm going to make him proud, Mom, I promise." I put my arm around him. "I know you will, baby. I know you will." A few days later, I got a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Hello? Miss Gloria?" The voice was small, uncertain. "This is she. It's Tiffany." I sat down, my heart pounding. "Tiffany." She was quiet for a moment. "I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. For the wedding. For the way I treated you. For trying to take your house. I was wrong. And I know saying sorry doesn't fix it. But I needed you to know." I took a breath. "Tiffany, I appreciate that. I do. But you didn't just hurt me. You hurt my son. And that's something you need to make peace with on your own." She sniffled. "I know. I wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. I got a job. A real job. Not influencer stuff. I'm working at a nonprofit in Atlanta, helping women who've been in abusive relationships. And I think about you a lot. About what you built. About how you turned pain into purpose." I felt my eyes water. "Tiffany, that's good. That's really good. Keep doing that. Keep helping people. That's how you heal." She was crying now. "Thank you, Miss Gloria. For everything. Even for the hard lessons." We hung up, and I sat there staring at the phone. People can change. Not everyone does. But some do. And when they do, it's beautiful. 3 months later, Malcolm came to me with an idea. Mom, I want to expand the community center. I want to add a job training program. Teach people skills they can use to get real jobs. Plumbing, electrical work, HVAC, things that pay well. I looked at him, pride swelling in my chest. That's a great idea, baby. How do you want to fund it? He smiled. I've been saving my paychecks. And I talked to Ruth. She said Henderson and Jackson Logistics would sponsor it. If you approve. I laughed, tears in my eyes. Of course I approve, Malcolm. Let's do it. And we did. Within 6 months, we had a full job training program running out of the community center. Dozens of people went through it, learned real skills, and got real jobs. Some of them even came to work for Henderson and Jackson Logistics, including Malcolm, not as my son, but as an employee who earned his way up. 1 year after that rainy night, when he showed up on my doorstep, Malcolm and I sat at the kitchen table on a Sunday morning, just like old times. He poured me coffee, and I smiled. You know, baby, I'm proud of you. He looked up, surprised. Really? I nodded. Really? You fell. But you got back up, and that's what matters. He reached across the table and took my hand. Mom, I know I said this before, but I need to say it again. Thank you for not giving up on me, for keeping the door open, for showing me what real love looks like. I squeezed his hand. Malcolm, that's what mothers do. We love, no matter what. He smiled. Money comes and goes, right? I smiled back, my heart full. That's right, baby. Money comes and goes. But love? Love stays. And that's what will always bring you home. 2 years have passed since that rainy April night. 2 full years since Malcolm showed up on my doorstep, broken and soaking wet, asking only to wipe clean the vase his wife had shattered. And now, I'm standing in the main hall of Miss Gloria's community kitchen and daycare, watching 100 people celebrate Thanksgiving together. Families from all over Harlem, single mothers with their children, elderly folks who have nowhere else to go, all of them laughing, all of them home. Malcolm is in the kitchen, wearing an apron that says head chef, carving turkey alongside 3 other men he's been mentoring. Young men who, like him, lost their way and found it again. The tables are packed, covered in food we've been cooking since 5 this morning. Turkey, ham, collard greens, mac and cheese, candied yams, cornbread, sweet potato pie, all of it made with love. Ruth sits at the head table with little Zoe, now 6 years old, her hair in braids, her smile bright as the Sunday. Auntie Gloria, can I say the prayer? I bend down and kiss her forehead. Of course, baby. Everyone's waiting for you. She stands on her chair, her little voice carrying across the room. Dear God, thank you for this food. Thank you for Auntie Gloria and Auntie Ruth. Thank you for Cousin Malcolm. Thank you for all the mommies and kids who don't have a home, but now they have this home. Amen. The room erupts in amen and applause. I look around at all these faces, all these lives that have been touched by this place. Keisha, a young mother who came here 3 years ago with 2 babies and a black eye, now works as our office manager and just got her associate's degree. Jerome, a teenager who was on the edge of joining a gang, now interns at Henderson and Jackson Logistics and is applying to community college. Miss Betty, an 80-year-old widow who was about to be evicted, now lives in one of our upstairs rooms and teaches the kids how to knit. This house, this old brownstone on West 145th Street, the house Tiffany called embarrassing, it's alive. It breathes hope. It gives second chances. It proves that love is stronger than money, stronger than pride, stronger than shame. After dinner, Malcolm finds me on the front stoop, where I'm sitting and watching the Harlem sunset. He sits down next to me, hands me a cup of coffee. Mama, I need to tell you something. I look at him, this man who's become everything I hoped he would be. What is it, baby? He takes a breath. I got accepted into a master's program. Social work, NYU, full scholarship. I feel my eyes water. Malcolm, that's wonderful. He nods, but his face is serious. But I don't want to leave the center. I don't want to leave you. I don't want to mess this up again. I take his hand. Baby, going to school isn't leaving, it's growing, and that's what I've always wanted for you, to grow into the man you're meant to be. He squeezes my hand. Mama, I wouldn't be here without you. You saved my life. I shake my head. No, baby. You saved your own life. I just kept the door open. He smiles, tears in his eyes. Well, thank you for keeping it open, even when I didn't deserve it. I pull him close. Malcolm, you always deserved it. You just had to remember who you were. We sit there in silence, watching the neighborhood come alive with evening lights. A few weeks later, I get a letter in the mail. Handwritten, no return address. I open it carefully. Dear Miss Gloria, I don't know if you remember me. My name is Tiffany. I was married to your son for 9 days. I'm writing to tell you that I'm 2 years sober now. I work at a women's shelter in Atlanta, helping women escape abusive relationships. I think about you every day, about the grace you showed me, even when I didn't deserve it, about the way you turned your pain into purpose. You taught me that real wealth isn't money, it's character, it's love. It's keeping the door open even when people hurt you. I'm trying to live that way now. Thank you for showing me what that looks like. With gratitude and respect, Tiffany. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Not because I'm sad, but because redemption is real. Because people can change. Because grace works. That evening, I call Ruth. Ruth, I got a letter from Tiffany today. She's quiet for a moment. What did it say? I tell her. She sighs, and I can hear the smile in her voice. Gloria, you know what you did? You didn't just save Malcolm. You saved her too. I shake my head, even though she can't see me. I didn't save anybody, Ruth. I just loved them, that's all. She laughs. Well, that's the most powerful thing in the world, isn't it? We hang up, and I sit in James's old chair, the one I can never bring myself to get rid of. I look at his photo on the mantel, the one next to our wedding vase, glued back together with gold. James, honey, we did it. We raised a good man, and he's going to keep making you proud. I swear I can feel him smiling. The following Sunday, Malcolm and I sit at the kitchen table, just like we do every week now. It's our tradition. Sunday morning coffee, black beans and rice, and conversation. Mama, can I ask you something? I pour him more coffee. Always, baby. He hesitates. Why didn't you tell me about the company? About the money? All those years? Why did you let me think you were just a school cook? I take a sip of my coffee, thinking about how to answer. Malcolm, I wanted you to know what it felt like to work hard for something, to earn your own way, to understand that your value doesn't come from money. It comes from who you are, how you treat people, what you do when nobody's watching. He nods slowly. I get that now. I didn't then. But I do now. I reach across the table. Baby, you needed to learn that lesson the hard way. And I know it hurt. But look at you now. You're strong. You're humble. You're kind. You're the man your father and I always knew you could be. He wipes his eyes. I just wish I hadn't wasted so much time. I shake my head. You didn't waste time, Malcolm. You were learning. And now you're teaching. That's how it works. We finish breakfast, and Malcolm helps me clean up, just like always. As he's washing dishes, he looks out the window at the community center, bustling with activity even on a Sunday morning. Mama, this place is magic. I dry a plate, smiling. No, baby, it's not magic, it's love. And love is the only thing that lasts. That afternoon, I walk through the neighborhood, greeting people, checking in, making sure everyone's okay. Mr. Johnson, who used to sleep on the subway, now has a room upstairs and volunteers in the kitchen every day. Keisha's 2 babies, now 5 and 6, run up to me with drawings they made in art class. Jerome stops me on the corner, tells me he got accepted to LaGuardia Community College, full ride. I hug each of them, my heart so full it could burst. This is what it's all about. Not the money. Not the empire Ruth and I built. But these lives, these second chances, this proof that love wins. As the sun sets over Sugar Hill, I walk back to my house, The house James and I bought in 1981 for everything we had. The house that Tiffany wanted to take. The house that's now a beacon of hope for everyone who needs it. I sit on the front stoop, the same place I sat that rainy night 2 years ago when Malcolm came home, and I think about everything that's happened. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the loss, but also the restoration, the healing, the redemption. And I realize something. This story was never just about me and Malcolm. It was about every mother who's ever been betrayed by her child and chose to love them anyway. It was about every person who's ever been knocked down and chose to get back up. It was about every family that's been broken and chose to rebuild. It was about grace. The kind that doesn't keep score. The kind that forgives without conditions. The kind that says, no matter how far you fall, you can always come home. Malcolm comes out and sits beside me. "What you thinking about, Mama?" I smile, just thinking about how blessed I am. He puts his arm around me. "We're the blessed ones, Mama, because of you." I shake my head. "No, baby, because of love, because of faith, because of grace." We sit there, mother and son, watching the Harlem night settle in, and I whisper a prayer. "Thank you, Lord, for this journey, for the pain that taught us, for the loss that made us stronger, for the grace that brought us home. Thank you for proving that love is the most powerful force in the world, and thank you for reminding us that the door is always open for those who choose to walk through it." Malcolm squeezes me hand. "I love you, Mama." I squeeze back. "I love you too, baby, always and forever." If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that redemption is possible, that grace is real, that love never gives up, then share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tell me in the comments about your own journey, your own comeback, your own second chance. And remember, no matter what you're facing, no matter how far you've fallen, the door is always open. Love is always waiting, and you can always come home. God bless you, and thank you for letting me share my story.